He shouldn't need a whole bar.
Do with this, smear this on. Bloody gross.
Oh, good. I'm not
Your lucky day. You're like, why is my blood blue?
Yesterday and today. Spray bottle. Oh, better.
That's not particular.
Yeah, no. And the name is district.
Yeah.
So who's on the dice?
It's fine.
Who's got that clip on the tie?
What is a tie dice?
Could be something.
Some kind of goober I found in the plushie. I got another things with this.
Looking good.
Stickers on your face too. Stop yourself. Fly into something.
I'm Jared Hessling.
And you're one of the participants, right?
Yep, I am the back passenger side participant.
Are you going to die?
No, but I have major internal bleeding.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm Amber, and I'm the one that's being thrown out of the windshield, and I die.
Be careful, okay? Because I cut the window, the windshield, around the edges, there's about that much windshield, so be careful that every glass, we're going to have a blanket there.
I'm Garrett Worse, and I'm the driver.
The guy that caused the whole thing. Oh no. Any alcohol involved?
Yeah, 3 beers.
You're going to go to jail.
I know.
They were nice.
What's your name?
I'm Cassidy Schaefer. I'm president of SAD and FTA. SAD stands for Students Against Destructive Driving. I'm a participant in the accident, and I'm in the passenger seat, and I have severe injuries.
And you really do. Bones hanging out. Wow. But you don't die, right?
Nope.
Okay. Did you have a safety belt on?
Yes, but it was behind my back.
Oh, no, that's not right. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
It's good stuff.
The one yesterday, actually. I don't like the smells good.
Yeah, it does. Here, you better get your head a little bit of a cushion. Is that good?
Yeah.
Pick this hand up a little bit. We can put that on the car. Okay?
She's got to get through.
What? You have a femur hanging out of your leg. Oh my goodness.
That way it looks like
Kind of splashed over here.
With prom season coming around the corner, as well as graduation, you know, this is something that the SAD group really took a lot of pride in today. Obviously, God gave us a nice clear sky. We were worried about that, but you know, all things happen for a reason. This is something to take serious. Yeah, it is a mock car crash, but these are actual activities that can happen. You will hear throughout the day real life stories. It's a very emotional thing. We appreciate everyone that helped. Our police department, our fire department, our first responders, Life Flight, St. Rita's Medical Center, and all that came in, as well as everyone else, administrators and teachers alike.
This afternoon has been sweet. We've been having so much fun partying with everyone.
I know, tonight is going to be the best night of our lives. We are going to be talking about our senior prom forever.
Hey Jared, do you have our beer in the cooler? Of course. This is going to be a fun night.
How many beers have you guys had already?
I think I've had only 3 beers. I've had 4. Not that many.
I cannot wait to get to prom and then to the after party.
Tonight's going to be the best night of our lives.
Did you guys tell Colin and Hallie about the after party? Oh crap, I did not. I'll text them real quick and let them know. Jared! Look out!
you okay?
Oh my gosh, there's been a car crash
Amber.
over at Delphos St. in the back parking lot. This is the mob crash. Oh my god. One vehicle. Looks like they hit another vehicle. Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 people trapped inside the car. Caroline Kopak. Oh, Jared, are you sure you're okay? Okay, can you please hurry? Oh my gosh. Fine. Remember?
Delphos Fire EMS, attention Delphos Fire EMS, on a mock crash, 515 East 2nd, 515 East 2nd, Delphos St. John's High School. We have a 2-car MBA, possibly 2 subjects trapped. We're going to go to Ops 1, please, Ops number 1. Allen County Ops 4. Allen County Ops 1.
I can't find the pulse. Jared, how about you? Can you get your car door open? What is taking so long? Here, she's got to get Amber up. Come on. She's got to be okay. She's got to be fine. Maybe we can try and get her through the back door. Come on, come with me.
You guys can
Maybe we should sit down. Maybe we can just keep you here until the paramedics. God, she looks really hurt. Here now.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Chief Kevin Streets from the Delphos Fire Rescue Department. We welcome you to this demonstration today. This program was developed because of concern for your safety. This concern is shared by your parents, teachers, police, fire, and emergency personnel that serve and protect you every day. Many young adults do not understand the seriousness of crash. Our hope is to demonstrate, this demonstration will give you a better understanding of the impact, the tragedy, the performance of a car crash, or the permanence of a car crash. Most of you have heard about those your age who have been involved in a serious car crash, many of them resulting in injuries that can leave long life disabilities. Others are not so lucky. They are dead. Some of these crash incidents are truly accidents, but many of these traffic accidents have involved alcohol and drug involvement. Whatever the cause, the ending is the same: the senseless injury or death of a young person who has so much of their life ahead of them. This demonstration will be different from any other traffic safety demonstration you may have seen. You will be exposed to the scene of the crash to see for yourself how the crash unfolds, just as it would in a real-life death situation. Please be aware of the passage of time as this demonstration unfolds.
Civilian traffic going on, coming.
1 to 12. Go ahead and roll. This will give you an idea how long it takes
That's clear. Allen County 2412.
to care for the injured, as well as the time to imagine the pain, stress, and
2412, 71, 80 will come out.
anxiety everyone at the scene has experienced. Also understand that police, firefighters, and emergency personnel are working under the stress to save the injured within the golden hour. The golden hour starts at the moment the crash happens. Definite medical care is the most critical within the first hour, an hour that is literally a time of life or death.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Slate, Chief of Police with the Delphos Police Department. Before we get started, I want everybody to take a few moments and think about someone you personally know that has been seriously injured or killed in a crash. I'm sure that each of you can think of at least one person. Unfortunately, some of us can think of more than one person. The purpose of this demonstration is to try to prevent each of you from becoming one of those people we stop to think about. We ask that you watch closely and think seriously about what's about to take place. The crash involves striking a fixed object. The object could be a tree, utility pole, bridge, or any other stationary object. This type of accident can occur anywhere, in a city, on a county road, or on a busy interstate highway. What you see before you is the result of this type of crash. The dynamics of this crash, as well as all crashes, have many variables. The most significant variable that affects the severity of the crash is speed. Consider the length of a football field. It's 300 yards. That is the distance needed to stop a vehicle traveling at 55 miles per hour to avoid an accident. To illustrate the significance of speed, if we change the speed of our crashed vehicle from 55 to 65 miles per hour and keep our stopping distance the same, 300 feet, our crashed vehicle will not stop in the 300 feet, but crash going 35 miles per hour. A crash of 35 miles per hour will produce the kind of damage and injury you see before you today. Half of all injury-producing accidents occur at speeds of less than 40 miles per hour.
The dispatcher has received the call and sends police, law enforcement, rescue personnel. Keep in mind that in some cases the rescue personnel must drive from their home. Depending on the location, the first unit may not arrive for 10, 15 minutes. Many times even longer because of onlookers blocking the roadways around an accident. Victim 1, the driver, Jared Wurst, has been drinking, wearing seatbelt and while texting and driving. Victim 2, Amber Pulte, backseat behind driver, has been drinking, not wearing a seatbelt. Victim 3, Cassidy Schaefer, front seat passenger, has not been drinking, wearing a seatbelt improperly. Victim 4, Jared Hessling, backseat passenger, has been drinking, not wearing a seatbelt. In the first 10 seconds, the front bumper of the chrome frosting of the grille work collapsed. In the second tenth of a second, the hood rose, crumpled, and smashed into the windshield. The rear wheels left the ground. The fenders contacted with the utility pole, forcing their rear edges over the front doors. The passengers continued to move forward at the vehicle's original speed. At 20 times the normal force of gravity, the bodies, each weighing 3,200 pounds. If their legs were straight, they would snap their knee joints. In 4/10 of a second, the car's front 24 inches have been demolished, but the rear end is still traveling 35 miles an hour, along with 4 passengers. The engine impacts into the object. At 6/10 of a second, the brake pedal sheared off the floorboard. The car body bent in the middle, shearing bolts and welds. The rear car begins to fall, the rear wheels slamming into the pavement. In 7/10 of a second, the body of the car was forced out of the shape ejecting the unrestrained rear seat passenger out the front window, jamming the doors shut, and trapping the other 3 victims in the car. The intoxicated driver of the car is 19-year-old Jared Wurst. He has consumed 12-ounce beers in the last 90 minutes and texting a friend about an after party. He was wearing his seatbelt. Jared was traveling at a high rate of speed when he ran off to the side of the road and lost control of the vehicle and hit a utility pole. At impact, his body was thrown forward, with the airbag and the seatbelt absorbing most of the forces involved in the crash. The extent of Jared's injuries is a few bumps and bruises. Jared is conscious and is being forced to watch. The following event unraveled before him. His cell phone was thrown on the floor. At first, he only texted at stop signs, and then he mastered it while driving. He's always felt he had an excellent control of the vehicle when he was texting. Amber Pulte is an 18-year-old girl who has not been drinking. Amber was riding in the rear seat, but not wearing a seatbelt. She didn't want to wrinkle her beautiful dress at impact. Amber was thrown into the roof of the car and out the front window, causing massive head injury and brain injuries. Amber also has large tears of both the lung and liver. Amber is losing massive amounts of blood. At the time of her vitals, show a blood pressure of 60/40, pulse rate 160, and respiratory rates of 4 breaths a minute. Amber is comatose and not responsive. If she does not receive medical attention within 5 minutes for the time of the crash, Amber will die. Amber only has 2 minutes to live. The front seat passenger is 18-year-old Cassidy Schaefer. Though sober, Cassidy was wearing a seatbelt, but had placed the shoulder strap behind her back, something that she often did while riding in the front seat. It just didn't feel comfortable to her. At impact, Cassidy's upper body flew toward the windshield and the dashboard of the car. Cassidy's face has smashed the windshield, causing several facial lacerations. Additionally, multiple glass shards have been embedded into her face. Cassidy suffers from severe concussion. Multiple ribs were broken as she impacted the dash, causing a large segment of Cassidy's chest wall to move paradoxically as she attempts to breathe. Cassidy's underlying lung has been badly bruised and no longer functions properly. Both her liver and spleen have been ruptured at the impact of Cassidy, and Cassidy is quickly losing large amounts of blood into her abdomen. Lastly, Cassidy's knee impacted the dashboard, causing her hip to be torn from its socket. Cassidy is in shock with a blood pressure of 80/60, pulse rate of 130, and a respiratory rate of 30 and labored. Cassidy is experiencing indescribable pain. Her screams for help become weaker and weaker. Amber Pulte has just died. 18-year-old Gerald Hessling, who was not wearing a seatbelt and has been drinking, is thrown forward onto the passenger seat. Jared's chest is crushed against the seat, causing several ribs to break. One of the broken ribs punctured his lung, causing it to collapse. Jared remains awake through all of this. With each gasp, breath, Jared experiences immense pain as the broken bone ends grate against each other. Additionally, Jared's spleen, which sits beneath his lower ribs, has been ruptured and is losing blood into his abdomen. At this time, Jared's vital signs: blood pressure 100/80, pulse rate 80, and respiratory rate 36 breaths a minute. The medic in charge has just called for the coroner. Rescues have decided that they must remove the door to safely remove Cassidy and the passengers. Keep in mind that the extrication, although necessary, will require time and cuts to the golden hour. Because of the seriousness of the front seat passengers' injuries, St. Rita's Medical Center Life Flight has also been requested. The tool for the fire and rescue personnel they are using is called the Jaws of Life. It can exert 7,000 pounds pressure at the tips. This presents a certain amount of danger to the victims and rescuers, which is why victims are covered with the rescuers wearing protective clothing. The rescue squad personnel helped Jared burst out of the car, which they did. The driver has trouble doing what the officers requested him to do and handcuffed and shown an awful scene. He is then placed in the back of a cruiser to be taken to the police station along with his cell phone. Remember that throughout the process, Cassidy is continuing to lose large amounts of breath from her ruptured spleen and broken leg. She is slipping further into a shock, which is past a minute. Also, Cassidy continues to grasp for air each time she breathes, crying in pain with each breath. Cassidy's vital signs have deteriorated to blood pressure 60/40, pulse rate of 120, and respiratory rate of 30 and labored. Cassidy will be extricated quickly and safely. A sandbag will be placed on her chest to decrease the abnormal movement. A high-flow oxygen was applied to assist breathing and administered extra oxygen. 2 IVs will be started. Due to her injuries and shock, the Life Flight helicopter will transport her to St. Rita's Medical Center. Upon his arrival at the ER, Jared Hessling's injuries will quickly be evaluated. An incision will be made between his ribs and on the left side of Jared's chest, and a large tube will be inserted to help expand his collapsing lungs. Another large tube will be placed through Jared's nose and down into the stomach to empty it. A third large tube will be placed in Jared's bladder to monitor his urine output. Blood will be drawn from Jared's arm and sent back to the lab for blood count. Prior to going into surgery, the surgeon will make an incision below Jared's navel and insert a small tube into his abdomen to find the bleeding from his spleen. Within an hour, Jared Hessling will be in surgery. His abdomen will be cut, and the general surgeon will either repair or remove Jared's spleen. To control the bleeding, in 2 to 3 hours, Jared will be in an intensive care unit. Jared will have the hospital in about 3 weeks and undergo extensive physical therapy. Eventually, Jared will recover completely, at least physically. Mentally and emotionally is another story. Upon Cassidy's arriving to the ER via Life Flight, her breathing will be controlled by machine. She will be administering large amounts of fluid and blood in order to replace that which has been lost. Like Jared and Cassidy, we have tubes placed in their stomachs, bladder, and their abdomen. Shortly after, Cassidy will be sent into surgery for intensive repairs. The general surgeon will cut at the abdomen and repair the tears in her liver and spleen. The orthopedic surgeon will replace Cassidy's left hip and socket. The plastic surgeon will remove multiple pieces of glass from Cassidy's face and repair the lacerations. She will remain in intensive care unit on a ventilator for 3 weeks and will be in the hospital for a total of 5. Roughly 18 months later, Cassidy will return for surgery and have her facial scars revised. She will be plagued with the deterioration left hip function for 15 years. And for 15 years, she will be required to replace the hip with an artificial one. Cassidy will suffer from long-term disability from her painful hip. Did everybody count the first responders that are helping? Just keep that in the back of your head. And that includes the funeral home, that the court-appointed attorneys. So add the total of people involved in the entire incident, not just what's happening here, what you guys are going to go through. The doctors, the nurses, physical therapists, first responders, law enforcement, everybody involved. Right here, you're looking at about 12, maybe 15, and now start adding those other people involved. Now, if you think about that, remember when I said you guys were kids because I'm old? It just seems that way. and we said we take things home because it has to do with a kid. The doctors, the nurses, they care about kids different than they care about an 80-year-old lady. So they're taking this home too. So it's not just affecting you guys. Think of the people involved in this situation with 4 victims. You're talking over 100 people that may be affected by one simple car wreck into a telephone pole. Pretty amazing, isn't it? It's not worth it, guys. Been around a long time. I read this stuff, and we know it's a scenario, and it's made to make an impact on you guys. And I will tell you right now, just by reading this, in my 24 years, 25 years doing this, I get choked up, and I know it's a scenario. Because it brings up things that I've seen in the past. And the funny thing is, how many of you had me for prevention? Stop, drop, and roll. I've watched you guys grow up. And now when I see you in a car crash that was senselessly could be averted. Guys, think. You're impacting over 100 lives just because you text on your phone or you have a drink before you leave. Is it worth it? Really? Guys, life flight's going to land. Please cover your eyes. Be careful.
Somebody's come out of town since we were
medical expenses necessary to treat Cassidy and Jared's injuries, the family files a lawsuit. Jared Worst's parents' insurance company handled the claim because it was their car. If the policy is not sufficient to the covered amount of the claims, the Worst family's life savings could be taken, and they could be required to sell their home and pay all the claims. Cassidy's family will be making payments for medical treatments for the rest of her life. And though Jared Worst had few expenses, he had to live with the image of his friend Amber Baldy being thrown from the car and Amber's body laying lifeless on the ground. What you've seen here this afternoon has been a reenactment, an accident involving 4 teens, 2 who were under the influence, and a driver who was distracted. This type of situation is not uncommon and does happen, unfortunately. The hope of Delphos St. John's SAD group is that each one of you will be impacted to be cautious while making decisions in the future. May God bless you all. Have an enjoyable, but more importantly, have a very safe prom.
Again, we'd just like to say thank you to everyone who had a part in making this demonstration possible today. But please use this as a reminder that this isn't just something that takes place during prom or graduation season. It's a reflection of your decisions far past that time. So use this demonstration today as that remembrance when you're making those choices in the future as well. But before we dismiss here, we do have some thanks to give. Our Delphos Fire and Rescue Department, Kevin Streets. A round of applause, please. Our Delphos Police Department Chief, Mark Slate. Carter and Shear Funeral Home, Eric Shear and Gina Zucker. County Line Auto Wrecking, the Sheeters. Our St. Mary's Medical Center, the Trauma Service Team of Morgan Shobe and her assistants. And St. Rita's Medical Center and Life Flight, Brian Anderson. So a big thanks to everyone who made today a reality.
All right, guys, real quick, give me a raise of hand. I'm seriously here. How many of you emotionally got touched by what we've seen today? Because I'll raise my hand, and I'm proud enough to say, I went a few weeks ago when Fort Jennings had it, and again today. I cried, and I know it's a mock crash. But as a parent, and as someone that cares for all of you, this stuff, it's reality. I went to my senior prom, and the lights went up because I had 2 of my best friends never made it there. This isn't a story. This isn't scripted. 2 of my best friends never made it to prom. We were in the school parking lot. We were supposed to be heading to prom, and they said, we'll see you there in a few minutes. They had to go get something. He had been drinking, and we never seen them again. My parents had to come get me. Had to get all of us. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to put reality into something we do today. What you're seeing here happens. These guys affects them, affects all of us. A lot of work is put into this. Think about that over the next few weeks. When your parents say, call me, seriously, call them. They want to give you a hug. I promise you, what they'll do to you for your late or drinking is a lot less than what you'll have to put them through if you make that wrong decision. So over the next hour, we'll be putting ourselves, we're going to break out into breakout sessions. Allow those emotions, allow those questions, do those things that we ask you to do. Again, be safe. Enjoy that today. Take it today serious. Take the rest next hour. And thank you for your patience. Go ahead and you're released to your locations that we just talked about.
Point of it is, 40 years doing this shit.
Cleveland and Putnam and here in Allen and Lima. And unfortunately, over the years, there have been a lot of them. In an average year, the stats will show in Allen County there will be 3 people killed by a drunk driver. That's astounding, isn't it? I mean, when you think of if somebody walked into Walmart and murdered 3 people, it would be news all across the country. But the fact that 3 people a year, statistically, will be killed by a drunk driver in Allen County, and unfortunately, I know in the last few years, I didn't pull all the cases and all the numbers, but I can assure you we're probably, unfortunately, pretty close to that. So let me talk first about drunk driving, and then let me talk about distracted driving. First of all, the day you get picked up for driving while intoxicated is going to be a very bad day, trust me. You will not only have your parents to contend with, but you will have lifelong effects. The drinking rules for anybody under the age of 21 is 0.02. For an adult, it's a 0.08. A lot of states are reducing that. A 0.02 is equivalent of 1 drink. And for a juvenile who gets stopped, anybody that's under age 18, that's going to be resulting in juvenile court and an OVI. I had one of the other assistants pull what are some of the sanctions for that, and they first of all would include the detention center. Hopefully none of you have ever seen the inside of the detention center, and you don't want to see the inside of the detention center. Typically, Magistrate Kohlreiser, who would impose a 5-day imposition of sentence in the detention center. There would be a 1-year driver's license suspension. There would be a fine of $200, 6 points on your license. There would be a drug and alcohol program that you would have to attend, and there would be all kinds of insurance implications. The rule of thumb was, for anybody who's picked up with an OVI, it's going to probably cost you an extra $5,000 in insurance over the next 3 to 5 years. That's probably on the low end. For a juvenile, your parents obviously are not going to be happy with should that ever happen, and the implications are far-reaching. And unfortunately, they don't stop with that, because a lot of jobs and a lot of applications, you would have to report it even if you were a juvenile at the time. There are some licensings and some jobs that you have to report that kind of thing, even if you weren't an adult and hadn't gone through adult court. Normally, you get protected by being a juvenile by not having to report it, but some licensing, it is different. So, the answer is, it will be a bad day. Trust me, it will be a very bad day.
What kind of casket you want, what kind of funeral mass you want, what kind of music do you want to play at the funeral. That fast, the light's gone, your time on earth is over, and I promise you it can happen in a blink of an eye. And what is left behind with your mothers and your fathers, your brothers and your sisters, it is complete destruction and devastation that will take them years and years to heal. And some of them never do. I have a family that is still grasping at straws. It's been 13 years now. They're at the same spot they were the day it happened. So, like I said, we're always inches from it. And the older you get, the more responsibility you get. And believe it or not, your parents, moms and dads, you mean everything to us, everything. It's what our existence in life, the minute you guys are born, our existence in life is to make sure that you get on to that next step to where you can get to where we are someday and have your own family. And I know when you're young, you're indestructible, 10 feet tall, bulletproof, fight, and you just can't get hurt. But I promise you, we as humans are very, very fragile. It just doesn't take much at all to wing us and ding us. And it's just something that you don't ever want to put your family through. And I know everyone in here, I know all of you very well. I know your parents very well. And you just don't want to make a decision that could put them, in that predicament. Because because it's not a good one to be in. It's just a horrible, horrible devastation. I can remember everyone that I've buried since I've been every person. I can remember family, I remember their faces. That first, it's that raw emotion. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it. And you have a chance with that not to ever to do that thing. So I promise you, somebody will always pick you up. Always. So don't ever do that. Even if you had a half a beer at a party, it just isn't worth it. Just make the phone call. Call me. I'll come get it. I'll load you up in the limos and take you home. You know that.
I just want to say thanks for this opportunity to stand here in front of you guys, be able to talk about this in person and to say thank you. And I also want to say thanks to everybody for doing the Battle of the Birds, the slushes, the donuts, all that stuff, even the football and the volleyball teams donating money for us. Myself and my wife, the rest of my family, we truly appreciate it all. And I guess this picture right here, I guess I want to show you guys, it's just not an image we put in here. This is actually my vehicle from the day of the accident, September 15th. I was coming home. I was on Conant Road. I was on Pequot Road coming home, and I got hit on the corner of Conant Road. Adhard Paul was his name. He ran the stop sign and T-boned me on the driver's side. And I did a good old Superman out the passenger window, from what I've been told anyways. So yeah, he's going 65 miles an hour. I don't remember anything from this point on. Here we go. And then, I mean, what's the statistics say? Most people, 28 people die every day as a result of drunk driving. About 345,000 people are injured every day by a drunk driver. So guys, really, what are your odds of being hit by a drunk driver or being in an accident? Everybody's got to brace and stand up once. Guys, these actually are the odds. It's 2 out of 3 people are going to be involved in an accident related to our drunk driver. Either get in an accident, a small crash, whatever it is, or get killed or get hurt by a drunk driver. So one thing you guys can do to lower your risk, I know you guys are just starting to get permits and all that good stuff. How can you lower your risk? You don't drink and drive. Guys, you just one of those things, you don't do it. You can injure yourself, kill yourself. You could hurt someone else also or kill them. There are just major consequences that come with that. And today was actually the sentencing from the guy that hit me. And Buddy JD will tell you a little bit about what went on with the trial today from Adhar making the decision he did.
So you guys probably understand as much as anybody how a drunk driving incident, so this guy was 3 times the legal limit when he hit Todd at 5 on a Saturday, 5 p.m. It's like it was 2 in the morning. You guys understand the impact it can have because you got Landon, who you've seen it kind of firsthand with, and you've got some folks here whose parents put together the fundraiser to help Todd and Jamie and everybody else out. The drunk driving have an impact on you. If you're the drunk driver, if you make that bad decision, even if you don't hit somebody and you get pulled over, you're going to have something on your record. And when you go to apply for a graduate school, for those of you that want to get in the nursing or medical field, or have some type of job where you're dealing with prescription medication and they see something like a driving while impaired, that will affect your ability to earn money, to have an income as time goes on. And if you get involved in an accident where you actually hurt someone, we sat there today and we saw this guy that hit Todd. I met with him yesterday. Guy doesn't have that big of a criminal record. He's got some stuff that he's done in the past, but nothing crazy. And he's got a 4-year-old. He's 29 years old. He's got a 4-year-old at home. That 4-year-old's not going to see her dad for several years. Because if you drive drunk and you hurt someone, you are going to go to jail, and you should. So be aware that there's things that can happen to you as well. I told Todd and Jamie, told the last group, I had a case in North Carolina. I don't do criminal work, I do civil work. But I had a case in North Carolina where this kid went to UNC Chapel Hill. and he was a sophomore. And he got hammered one night, and he decided it would be a good idea to drive his car. And this kid was a 3'8". He was a high school athlete from a town that's about the size of Lima, so kind of a small-ish town kid. Went the wrong way on Interstate 40, 85. If you've ever been to the North Carolina beaches, that's the main road you go to get there. Hit a car and killed 3 people and injured a 4th person who was in the car. So here's this kid with no record, 3'8" student, high school athlete, serving about 20 years in jail because of one bad decision on one night. Understand that that's all it takes is one bad decision, one time, and the impact that it can have on you forever.
So you just heard the consequences for the drunk driver, and the consequences for Todd. This part is when he was in ICU. He doesn't remember any, so he doesn't remember about the first 30 days. And so at this point, he was heavily sedated. He had that breathing tube going down his throat, so it still causes him trouble today with swallowing. So even just like the basic, we all love food, right? It brings us a lot of joy, but it's a struggle because even just like pizza or bread, meat, he's constantly hacking it back up. We joke all the time that we're not going to take him out to eat because he's a little loud now when he eats. But he had 12 broken ribs and then his broken neck. So when Dr. Yu was who operated on his cervical spine, and she came out and she was completely what she thought was being accurate and said that he won't have any to little movement on that left side. So we were left with that thought for quite a while. But luckily he proved us wrong. So they were wrong. And we really attribute that to your guys' thoughts and prayers, everybody. We do. Todd said that from the very get-go.